Hi friends, Duane Larson here at Christ the King Church for another Midweek Med. I hope this time finds you somewhat rested, even in the middle of the week, that you have gratitude in your heart and things to do, but not too much on your hands, because today we're going to talk about that thrilling topic, time. I want to chat and think with you about taking time, fleeing time or escaping time, immediacy, the change of seasons, if Houston has anything like that, mindfulness, but of course, what's that have to do with God? So our musical meditations today have already alluded to that. You heard Deacon Rick play the well-known hymn of My Life Flows On in Endless Song. It's a reference to time there. We'll hear something later about immortal, invisible, God only wise, a famous one about God encompassing all of time. Eternity, in fact, is the fullness of times. It's not endless. It is the fullness of times, and we're just a part of the inside of eternity, like, shall we say, being the inmost doll of a whole host of nested Russian dolls. But this coming piece, a little more opaque perhaps for us, but fun in its title and in its reflection. This piece by Haydn, Allegro ma non troppo, works for the flute, but also called works for flute clock. So there we go. We'll be back after this works from flute clock. Hi again. So I suggested we talk about time, and I think that's what I want to do. Already, Starbucks is selling pumpkin spice latte. I had some today. There's cold brew, pumpkin fusion, something or another, caramel, macchiato. There's pumpkin this, pumpkin that. I saw an advertisement lately that, of course, was satirical about pumpkin spice communion wafers. It's the season for pumpkin spice, somebody is saying. But of course, the rest of us say, look, it's only September. It's not even officially fall yet. Though school has begun with much debate, though it's after Labor Day, which for some says, well, it's kind of the unofficial beginning of fall. It's really not. Here in our venue, the heat of summer will last for weeks yet, and we won't see that much in changing of leaves, but up there in the Adirondacks, I saw some beautiful pictures already of changing leaves. My own practice has been that I will not touch a pumpkin spice latte or something with pumpkin flavoring in it, usually until I go to a conference in November. But that conference this year, of course, is canceled like so much else. Every day has become like another day. We don't have our usual seasonal rituals to mark the time. And so I'm suggesting that it's appropriate even in September to claim time and to make time, as the Bible says, to seize the day. Se te tein hemeron was the Greek, and Latin has its cognate as well. So I'm declaring for myself, at least, that it's fall. And why? Well, it is our habit to be led by somebody else's claims as to what day it is, special kind of observance day. Maybe it's National Whale Watching Day, or go buy a pumpkin day, some such thing. Usually it's Hallmark imprinted, at least so my cynicism goes. But in these days, 6-7 months of pandemic, of course, it has been hard to know which day is which. It's hard to feel different. We haven't had the external claims on our patterns, and we've realized that, maybe we need to be a bit more responsible ourselves for our patterns. So plant some fall foliage, we will. Drink pumpkin spice latte, we will. Communion, again, we will have soon, but not pumpkin infused. We look for familiarity, we look for ritual, personal and together. And all of that is a way actually of reminding us that maybe we've forgotten to do some things given the duress of some new external pressure. Maybe we have forgotten to do some things that we'd like to do, like play our guitar, or as I wrote about recently, to pull out some 40, 50-year-old albums and play those. We need to reclaim the time, not just try to escape it with perhaps an evening after dinner ritual of some sort. We need to actually claim time, go into it, make it for ourselves, make it the Kairos time again, see it as the Kairos time that God gives to us, so that we might indeed live in immediacy, in mindfulness, rather than escaping or just abiding time. My favorite psalm is perhaps a peculiar favorite to many because it is at the same time a lament and praise. It's a pleading that God would give us time and would save us. It starts in the King James Version, which I so love. The poetry is so beautiful. Lord, thou hast been our refuge from one generation to another. Psalm 90. And later it says, though the days of our years might be 70, or perhaps we might have even 80 years, yet are our days but labor and sorrow. When we don't have time, when we don't take time, when it seems that time is imposed on us as one endless day after another, it might seem to be, like these days have been, lament. But in lamenting out loud and in claiming the time again, in being immediate to it, rather than to be defined by it, we all the more can see God at work. We all the more can see that God, who is our refuge, is already active, even in the midst of our complaint. How do we attend to what is given to us in any moment? Jesus often teaches about paying attention to the seasons. Watch for this, watch for that. At the same time, he says, do not worry, just be immediate. God takes care of the birds in the air and the flowers of the field. So attend to what is given. I came across a beautiful poem this morning. It's quite about that. It's a poem that is all about immediacy and being immediate to what we're given, that is mindful to what is in the moment. We might even find, as Matthew later describes Jesus' teaching, that we are meeting Jesus. It might be that we are feeding Jesus or clothing Jesus, giving Jesus a home, or not doing any of those. But the poem I'm thinking about is called Shoulders. It's by a poet named Naomi Shihab Nye. Shoulders. A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south, because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him. No car drive too near to his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he's not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say fragile, handle with care. His ears fill up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. Time is filled and made immediate and given great promise with great responsibility, but it gives us meaning now when we grasp it in and with each other, when we shoulder the load, when we recognize and in fact celebrate with the deepest gratitude the fragility of one another. God is with Christ's cross planted there in the most fragile places, which really is everywhere if we care to look, if we are immediate about it, if we're mindful about it. And after that man had crossed the street with the boy on his shoulder, I should imagine he was filled with great gratitude and praise too for what God had given him in purpose and in love. Such a wonderful way to take and spend time. So, in the middle or thereabouts of Psalm 90, it's simply this: teach us to count our days, that we may gain a wise heart. May this midweek day be for you that, and each moment of it, because God has wrapped us in our narrow lives and times with God's eternity, and each and every moment of the pulsing of our heart and expiration of a breath is filled with eternity, which brings us to each other to care for each other's fragility. And it's all glorious. Peace be with you.